conference every September, just so you know. If you'd like to put it on your calendar, we'll be having that this September. But for the last few years, God has kind of been taking me through the process of ministering to you in regards to your identity. We talked about identity and ministering to you about why you don't dream anymore. Where'd that dream go of that girl you wanted to be when you were young, and all the aspirations and goals that you set for yourself, and you kind of settled in. And then we talked about being fearless, and we talked about, what else did we talk about, guys? Victorious? Victorious was last year, wasn't it? Yeah. So we talked about all these things in freedom. And I was sharing with Tara because in preparation for tonight, I just kept going back to some of the same things. And I'm like, God, why do we keep dealing with the same issues? And our ladies have to be deeper than that. They have to want more than that. And I know you're deeper than that. And I know you want more than that, because in talking with you individually, a lot of you are still hurting. A lot of you are still going through issues in life that you don't have answers to. And it can be very frustrating, and you're searching and you're looking for hope, and you're looking for a resolve and a relief from the pressures of life. And I said, you know, like me, growing up around church, I got to a point where I got so frustrated that it felt like the thing that everybody was telling me was the way, the truth, and the life, that Jesus was the answer. It felt like I wasn't getting the answers. I felt like, why not me? I felt like there was something wrong with me. And so I started kind of reminiscing over my own life and thinking about some of the things I've been through and how I got tripped up. And so brings me to the message tonight: stop tripping and run. Stop tripping and run. Now you can take that literally as, stop tripping, girl, get it together. Or stop tripping. You know how we trip like that. God wants us to stop tripping in life. Well, if he didn't want me to trip, why does he keep putting things in my way? If he didn't want me to trip, why does he keep setting me up for failure? If he didn't want me to trip, why did he give me the husband I want? No, we don't know that. Sometimes it just doesn't seem fair. It seems like we keep getting set up to be tripped. Seems like somebody's there with that little invisible piece of string that you seem like you're picking up momentum, and then all of a sudden life trips you up. You get tripped up. Well, it brought me to Hebrews 12:1. And it says, wherefore saying we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin that's easily surrounding us or besetting us, and let us run with patience the race that's set before you. You know, the race that's set before you is your life. You're not missing the race, you're in the race. Some of you are waiting thinking that you haven't started yet. Well, I'm here to tell you tonight, you're in a race if you haven't recognized it yet. That race is called your life. And the finish line is you fulfilling your destiny. And my job tonight is to help empower you to get to that finish line and look and say, I have accomplished what I was born to do. Because really in life, that's the ultimate goal. The deception is the ultimate goal in life is to buy a house. Well, you know what? I bought a house and that void was still there. Anybody got their house? It was exciting. I was blessed. I was happy to have a home. But I found out that wasn't the end-all be-all. And I was like, my whole life growing up, what you got to do is to be successful, you get a good job and you buy a house. Well, I did that, and I didn't feel successful. I had a good career. What you got to do is you got to find a good career. So I found a good career. But that didn't fill the void. Because I wasn't fulfilling who I was created to be. But yet I was still running this race. Excuse me. Can you go and tell them to move away from the door? Thank you. They're playing games outside. So, it made me feel like all these other things come in. Now the weights and the cares of life come in because I'm doing the things that everyone around me told me I do to feel successful and to feel like I've accomplished life and to fill that void in my life. And, oh wait, now you just got to find the right man. Come on, wherever you are. But you know what? That's one of the biggest fallacies that women are believing right now, is that you need a man to make you happy. Some of you are like, well, I thought this was the one. He was going to be my Prince Charming. He was going to treat me all nicely and take me into happily ever after. And you ended up in happily ever disaster. Because I found out that, you know what? Other people don't make you happy. You make you happy. But how do I get there? How do I get there, Pastor Kim? As a woman, listen, let me tell you, because we are hardwired nurturers, we want to love people, we want to take care of people, we want to help people, and we just like to make everybody else feel good. We're the last ones that we take care of.
That's true.
And that's why you see, and if you're an older woman that's bitter, then just wear it, honey, just wear it. But a lot of us hit a point in our life where we get bitter because we start having resentment because it seems like we're making everybody else happy and they're not making us happy. But I found out, thank God I found out young enough, that other people don't make you happy. You make you happy.
That's right.
You make you happy. Okay, that sounds good, Pastor Kim. Sounds very philosophical. Sounds like you've been enlightened. Sounds great, but now how do I get there? How do I get there? Listen, weights come in many different forms. The weights and the cares of life can come in many, many forms in your life. So your weight that's coming on you and kind of slowing you down in this thing called life may not be somebody else's weight. But just know that every woman in this room has a weight of some sort. But I want you to know today that you can't run with a weight, but you're not meant to. Because if you learn that if you're running, you don't want to have more on you. In the military, they'll put more on you to build up your endurance. And I believe there's seasons in life that God will allow certain things to come into your life to build your endurance. But just because it's a season doesn't mean it's a sentence. You need to write that down. Just because there's seasons in life doesn't mean they're sentences. You are not sentenced for the rest of your life to carry some of the things that you had to carry when you may have been a kid, or some of the things you had to carry when you were in your 20s. There are seasons and times to everything, and you are not meant to carry that and then keep adding to your load as you go through life, or you end up broken and bitter and falling short of the finish line. So I started looking at this, and I started thinking about all of us ladies and how we begin to feel like we're stuck. Has anybody ever felt stuck? Yeah. I know there's more of you. You just didn't want to put up your hand. I'm so stuck, I can't put up my hand. I just came from North Carolina and South Carolina, so I just feel like having a time tonight, y'all. Some of you begin to feel, maybe you don't feel stuck, but maybe you feel like you're being sabotaged. Well, I'm going to challenge you tonight. If you have paper in front of you or your phone, I need you to write down, what do I want? You know what? It's that one question that started to transform my life. I was a Christian. Hear me. I was a Christian. I was born again. I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I had a good job. I had a good husband. but I still felt like I was incomplete. And I had to step back and say, wait a minute, what is missing? And it started with this question: what do I want? You might be in a place where, I'll tell you if you're stuck. Let me give you some flags if you don't know you are. You're in a group of people and they say, what do you want to do? If you're the person that always says, I don't care. What do you want to do? Mm-hmm. Where do you want to go and eat? I don't know. Whatever. Where do you want to go on vacation? If that's your resolve in life right now, honey, you're stuck. Because you've settled into the mentality that whatever I get is okay. You settled into quit reaching. You settled into quit saying, I can have more than I have right now. And if you are still breathing, if you're still sucking air, I don't care if you're 15, if you're 30, if you're 60, if you're 80. As long as you're breathing, you should still be believing. As long as you're sucking air, you should still be saying, I want to finish this race. I want more out of life. I loved when I lived in Florida and I seen seniors. Listen, my job in Florida, I'd go into senior communities and I'd walk in to do a presentation on safety and helping them protect their identity. And they'd come in and they'd pull out their watch and they'd say, look here, honey, you got about 35 minutes and I got a shuffleboard date. A shuffleboard date, and then the ladies would go, he got 3 dates with 3 different ladies in the complex. You want to go play shuffleboard already? I was like, hey. They were still living. They still made dates. They still had plans. They still had goals. I love going on a cruise ship and seeing people pushing around oxygen tanks. It's a little scary when you drive in Florida and you look over and the person, you can't see their forehead much and they got an oxygen tank over their ears and they're still driving. It was a little unnerving when I moved to Florida to see that. But you know what? They're still living.
That's right.
They haven't resolved to shut up in the house and say, oh, well, my time has passed.
That's right.
Well, now you're just sitting around waiting to die. Now, does that sound like you're stuck or what? And unfortunately, there's some of you in your middle age that you're doing just that. You're just waiting for whatever. Well, whatever's never going to come. Because you haven't put a name on whatever it is. So what is it you want? Did you write it down? Some of you are going to have to think about it because you haven't asked yourself what you wanted in so long. What do I want in life? What do I want? Now you have to ask yourself, why don't I have it? That's the next question you need to write down. I know some of you, this is homework. It's okay. You're not going to just mess up right here with all of us. But maybe when you get home tonight, you'll bury your face in the pillow and cry as to all the reasons why you don't know it. I don't even know what I want. Have you ever done that to your husband? What do you want, honey? I don't know, but you're not giving it to me. Mad at your boss, mad at your husband, mad at your sister, mad at your parents, mad at everybody, because nobody's giving you what you want. And then you say, well, what do you want? I don't know.
All the time.
We do that with our kids. They're crying. What do you want? What do you want? You want this? Wait a minute. You want this? Wait a minute. You want this? And then finally you say, oh. And that's what's happening in some of your lives. You're burning the people out in your life because you're stuck. And they keep trying to figure out what you want. And they keep trying to give it to you and keep trying to help you. And finally they just say, oh, can't deal with that. See, I knew you never loved me. No, that had nothing to do with love. I just can't figure you out. Can't figure out what you want. You're not telling me what you want. So the first thing you have to do as a person is say, This is what I want. I was picked with Ashley because Ashley, a few years ago, outside of a restaurant, I said, what do you want? And she told me, I want this. And I said, well then, let's start believing for it. Let's start making it happen. Let's start going towards it. And me and her touched, and we agreed, and we stayed in touch. And Ashley kept coming to women's fellowship, and she kept coming to women's fellowship, and then she transitioned over and started coming to our ministry. And everything she said she wanted that night outside of that restaurant is existing today because she put a name on it. Mm-hmm. Oh, you keep it that. This is most recent. Sister Dolly and I, she came to North Carolina with us, South Carolina, and we went to a restaurant and we're sitting there eating, and she came to the table and she said, oh man, they didn't have my peaches and pickles today. First of all, we had to get over the peaches and pickles thing combined. But anyway, it was what she wanted. That's what she ate on her salad. It's so good, you gotta try it. She said, okay. So the next day, she went to get her peaches and pickles, and they weren't there. And her husband said, yeah, did you look right there? And she said, well, if it ain't there, then I'm not supposed to have it. And I got ready not to say anything, and then I looked across the table at her, and I said, well, maybe it's not that you're not supposed to have it. Maybe you don't have it because you didn't ask for it. Some of you think that you are not worthy of having things in life when the only thing between you having it and not having it is you asking for it. The Bible says you have not because you ask not. If you want your husband to start dating you, ask for it. You know what? No, you're going to have to ask me on a date. I want to be serenaded. Ask me on a date. If you want your friends to reciprocate the investment in a relationship, you know what? I want you to start appreciating and respecting me the way I appreciate and respect you. If you never ask for it, you'll never get it. You have to put a name on it. This is what I want. Now, why don't I have it? Here's the question that most of us, we resolve right here. If I tell you, why don't you have it? Some of you came up with about 10 excuses as to, did I say excuses? Wait, some of you came up with 10 reasons. I mean excuses. I mean reasons. I mean excuses. Some of you came up with things immediately disqualifying and justifying why you didn't have what you wrote down. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the ability. I don't have the resources. I don't have the connections. I don't have. And that's why I don't have it. No, that's not why you don't have it. This is where the things are going to get real tonight. Because I'm going to answer you why you don't have it. Oops. And some of you are going to leave here mad at me. You'll be mad for the first little while, and then when it starts to manifest and you start to get it, you'll come back and you'll like me again. And I'm okay with that because I want you to have it. And if you having it means you got to be mad at me for a minute, then God gave me these great big shoulders for a reason. But the reality is this. I know you hear the kids. The reality is, once you remove all of the excuses and deceptions and false teachings and lies and excuses, and you remove your thoughts from that equation, it really becomes quite simple how you can attain what you want. If you start to strip away everything that has become an excuse to why you can't have something, if you start to peel back all the reasons that you made and really just say, you know what, it's not that I don't have time, I'm not making time. Oh, you see how I switched that? Yeah. It's not that you don't have money because, listen, I don't know you all personally, but I know you and you're a human being. I know every human being that once they set their mind and they want something financially, they make it happen. And don't tell me it's not possible, because I wanted to buy a $1,000 dress 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago when I was in high school. I wanted to buy this $1,000 prom dress. My mother looked at me like I lost my ever-loving mind. And I said, you know what, Mom? I'll work for it. Because I want it. I want that dress. My mom looked at me and she said, well, look, I can't afford to buy that dress, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you X amount of dollars toward that dress, but the rest is up to you. I can't do it. I said, okay, Mom. I worked. Everybody wanted, let's go get some burgers and fries. Nope. I got a dress to buy. How about we have some hot dogs and crab dinner at your house? That's 50 cents a box. You can get some crab dinner, buy a pack of hot dogs. Girl, you know you got a prom dress to buy. You better work that money. So I'm telling you, when you want it, you make it happen. Anything you want, you make happen. The things you don't really want, you make excuses for.
That's right.
We make excuses as to why we don't have it. I don't have the education. You know what? You can't even use that one anymore. I don't know how to do it. Do you know this is the information generation? Do you know that you can go on YouTube, you can Google, you can Amazon, you can go on every information source and you can find somebody who's already doing what you want to do. They've already done it. They can tell you the pitfalls. They can tell you the hardships. They can tell you what to do, what not to do, resources to go to. They can tell you sites to go to where you can get funding. They can give you counseling. They will even mentor you online. You can Google them and you can get in touch with them through YouTube, through Instagram, through Periscope. You got all these. It's the information highway. So if you're saying, I don't know how, I'm not educated enough, what do? I go find somebody who's doing what I want to do, but they're already doing it, and I say, I want to know how you did that. Because if I really want it, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just got to find somebody who's already doing it. When me and my husband wanted to grow a church, we said there's got to be a reason that churches don't grow. There's got to be a reason that churches do grow. What's the difference between that church and that church? How come that one is growing and that one is not? And you know what? The majority of reasons why that one will grow and move forward and the other won't, reason why you can start at the same point as another person and one of you will advance and the other won't, is this reason right here. I refuse to change. I don't want to change. I don't want to. You know what? I said it's simple to get it. I didn't say it was easy. What makes it challenging is the change that you have to make to obtain it. What makes it challenging to get, it's not that it's hard to obtain what you want on that piece of paper. What it means is I have to go through the discomfort of getting to it. I have to go through the discomfort. It's simple to obtain, but not easy. Simple in the sense of all of that information is available. What did that scripture say I read? Hebrews 12:1. It says, we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. You know what that means? Somebody else is telling us, showing us what is already being done. You can do it. It's just getting out of the comfort zone and wanting it. The truth is, you keep looking at the cost of getting it, or shall I say the inconvenience of getting what you want. So you settle into this. Oh, what I have is good. You know, I'm fine. You start weighing the cost. I want this. See, this will be the dilemma you're going to lay in bed and think about tonight. I want this, but I got to do all this. Some of you don't even have to go to information sources. You've already looked it up. You've already researched it. You already have all the information. It means I'm going to have to go back to school for 2 years. I don't want to be inconvenienced for 2 years. It's not that I don't have the money. Doesn't mean I don't have the resources. Just means I don't want to go through the inconvenience. I don't want to have to write papers again. You start thinking about high school. You start thinking about grade school. I don't want to do presentations again. Can't I just, man, I'm grown. I already did school. Well, you can be grown and dissatisfied.
Yeah, amen.
Or you can be grown and satisfied. You can be the one that goes back to your high school reunion and still got a grin on your face and pep in your step because you are being fulfilled in life and you are accomplishing the things you want to do. You don't have to brag. You're just happy. But you got to remove the excuses. You got to remove the mindset that you don't want to be inconvenienced. That's the hard truth. The hard truth is, I don't want to be inconvenienced. Can anybody be honest enough to say tonight, I don't have what I wrote on that paper because I just don't want to be inconvenienced. I don't want to be inconvenienced. I want to lose weight, but I don't want to be inconvenienced. Come on. I want to go on a cruise, but I don't want to give up eating McDonald's every day. I want to go on the vacation, but I don't want to give up what I'm doing right now. So I'm good. I'm fine. And if you want to be spiritual about it, well, I'm blessed. Yep, God's blessed me. I don't want to be ungrateful because I'm thankful. I didn't put that on God because He said, I came to give you life and life more abundantly. So if you're living in lack, you're missing part of the equation.
Right.
The truth is, you've resolved to just be okay. And that okay mentality is called mediocrity. You've decided to settle for less than what God said you can have. You decided to settle for less than what you have the capability of doing. Because I'm going to tell you something. Everything you wrote on that paper, you have the ability to accomplish. I just watched a video of a young man born with no arms, no legs. And he is one of the most popular motivational speakers in the world. He travels the world motivating people to look at me, and you're telling me that you can't do what you want to do in life? He's got one little appendage that kind of holds something, and he almost, his feet, I'm not saying this to be funny, his feet, what he calls feet, look almost like flippers. But you're telling me that you can't have out of life what you want? We got to deal with the truth of the matter. Look, if you want change, you have to embrace truth. One of the most heart-wrenching things for me as a person who is hardwired to help other people and to love people and to help people get to the finish line, because you know what? That's what I was created to do. I was created to help you get to the finish line. And one of the most challenging things for me, the most hurtful thing for me, is people who don't want to deal with the truth, and they would rather be stuck in the lie that they created and get mad and point at everybody else and say, you're trying to stop me. You're trying to hold me back. You're trying to sabotage me. Everybody's working against me. When the truth is, nobody's working against you. The truth is, you have to face some issues in life and some truths about yourself to be able to move forward and become unstuck. The key to you becoming unstuck, baby, is not goo gone. It's you gone. You got to get you out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
You got to, we love that slogan. Keep it real. Girl, keep it real. I'm 100. 100 what? And you know what? God's word says, if I love you, I'm going to correct you. You need to stop pushing away people that are bringing correction in your life and start learning how to embrace correction. You You need to stop saying, you're just doing this to hurt my feelings. You're just doing it. No, I'm telling you because I love you. You know what? If you have a friend that will tell you, girl, you got lipstick on your teeth. If you have a friend that'll tell you, you know what? In pride, you know what? You're wrong. How you handled that, you're wrong. Then you know what? You've got something. Because if a person really loves you, they're going to be honest with you. If you walk out of the bathroom and your skirt's stuck in the back of your pantyhose, and you go out on the dance floor, and your friends are sitting at the table, ain't nobody telling you, ain't nobody covering you, get a new circle, cash them all in. That's right. You need people in your life that are going to be honest with you. And you got to quit looking at honesty, the people that are being honest in your life. You got to quit looking at them like they're your enemy and they're working against you. No, what they're trying to do is show you the straightest route to getting to what you want on that piece of paper. And it's a shame because even in the church, even in the house of God, where people are supposed to be honest, you have a lot of people that won't even tell you the truth so that they won't lose you as a member. Mm-hmm. I love you enough to lose you. You got to be willing to receive. Now, I'm not saying you just listen to any old voices. I'm not saying you just let anybody come in and just tear you. No, when people are telling you truth about areas in your life that you need to change, it hurts. But if you're honest with yourself, you feel the love connected to it. There's a difference between somebody belittling you and berating you and somebody telling you the truth to build you. There's a difference. Because what happens is, if you get over your emotions of being told the truth and get quiet and really reflect within yourself, and if you can't do it within yourself, if you just say a prayer and ask God, you know what? Is that really what I'm doing? Then you're going to find out, you know what? I'm going to try and change this. I'm going to work this area of my life. And when you start seeing the results, the change coming forth in your life, you know what's going to happen? You're going to say, man, I'm so glad that person told me the truth. I'm so glad somebody loved me enough to tell me the truth. Like, I was a very cut and dry kind of woman. I'm still very cut and dry. But what I had to pray for, I had to start asking God to give me tact. You know what tact is? Yes. I had to start asking God, God, give me compassion for the person I'm talking to. Because just because you can take a shot of truth straight up and take it down like a champ, doesn't mean that everybody has that capability. So you got to sometimes dress truth up. You know, they used to say a little bit of sugar helps the medicine go down. Sometimes your truth will come in your silence. You ever have a friend that's ranting and raving and going off, and you're just sitting there because you're like, well, what they said was true, but I ain't know. And if all your friends are sitting on the couch like this, if it gets quiet, you need to stop and say, what? Is that true? And sometimes it'll just take their nod. So what I'm challenging you to do tonight is to understand that you are tripping over yourself. Nobody's sabotaging you. Nobody's stopping you. Listen, truth be told, nobody can stop you. I don't care what opposition is coming against you. The only time you can be stopped is when you give somebody the authority to stop you. Amen. Everything you want on that paper that you write down, you can have it. You can have it. Pastor Kim, you don't know my learning disorder. You know what? I know businessmen that are dyslexic. I just left a pastor who wrote over 36, did he say 36 books? Over 36 books, but he's dyslexic. He says it's easier for me to write a book than it is to read a book. But he didn't make the excuse of dyslexia to stop him from releasing the gift that was on the inside of him. And I'm telling you, he's given some practical truth. He's given some encouraging truth. And the books are like that thick. Made them easy reads. Because sometimes you can't take it all down. Sometimes you'll get truth and you just got to set it there and walk away. Sometimes truth has to digest. Nobody is expecting you to deal with truth and just transform overnight. Truth being applied takes time. Because we've been living in a habitual way for so long that it's become our nature. But it's not your identity. Just because something has become your nature, it is not your identity. And it can be changed. I'm living proof. And it can be changed because the moment you want change is the moment change begins. The moment you really want it and you stop lying to yourself, you stop tripping over your own excuses, you stop believing the thoughts. So you got to shut off those negative thoughts in your own mind. Look, when life gets too negative around me, you know what I do? And some of you might laugh. But I will take and put on my headset and I will go on YouTube and I will put on some of the sweetest, motivational. Now, some people say, well, Joel Osteen, his sermons are so sweet. He's so soft. He's so this. But you know what? He's the counter of negativity. And I'll put Joel Osteen on to speak positive, to drown out negative. Because sometimes you can be burdened. Remember those weights we talked about at the beginning? Those weights that so easily, that sin that comes in, it comes in. Life is going to happen, but you don't have to take life inside of you. Life can happen externally, but that doesn't mean it can transform you internally. You determine what comes on the inside of you. And if you feel that negativity is seeping into your life and choking out what you want, you have to counter it with truth and bring balance back to it. You got to balance it. You got to get rid of negativity. And you got to bring in the positive truth. If somebody tells you you can't, you got to get around 5 people who tell you you can. You got to start pulling up videos that show you, well, if she can do it, if she was homeless, if he can do it, if he didn't have an education, then why not me? You know how I became a police officer? I looked in that newspaper, and yes, that's how long ago it was. It was a newspaper I was reading. And I was at a point in my life where I said, I want to make a decision. Either I am going to go back to school and get a good job, or I am going to get a good job and be successful, because I was stuck at a place and I was like, I don't like where I am. I took a year off of high school. I worked in a factory for 1 year. Listen to me. 1 year in a factory where my hands started swelling up every day so bad. I was getting carpal tunnel syndrome because my job was sewing leather on steering wheels. And I had resolved and made the excuse that I couldn't go to college because I didn't have the money. You know why I didn't have the money? Because nobody would give it to me. Nobody gonna give me the money. I'm gonna go work in a factory. I did that for 1 year until I sat across from a lady one morning, and her hands were so swollen, her fingers looked like sausages. And I'm not kidding you. And then I looked up at her face, and she couldn't have been 40 years old. And I watched her, and the first couple steering wheels, she moved real slow. But after the second one, she picked up speed. But it took her the first hour of an 8-hour shift to get feeling back in her hands. And at that moment, I looked at her and I'm thinking, I will not become that. I will not be crippled by this kind of work. So I went home that night and I pulled out the newspaper and I said, I'm either going to find me a good job or I'm going to go back to school. So I signed up for a psychology course and I said, well, if I got the money, I'm going to take one course at a time, but I'm getting out of this factory. And I opened that newspaper and it said, Windsor Police hiring cadets. And I said, I can do that. Why not me? They're going to hire somebody. Well, I'm telling you, this is the conversation I had with myself that day on my couch. Why not me? If other people are doing it, why can't I do it? I'm a rough, tough country girl. I grew up with a bunch of boys. I climbed trees and swung from barns. Why not? I could climb up the side of a building. I can do that. I sat there and talked myself into that job. I didn't know anything about law enforcement except for all the friends and family I knew that got arrested. I'm not kidding you. I knew the things they did to get away from the police. So I figured that gave me an advantage because I'd know how to catch them. And I sat there and talked myself into applying for that job. And then there was another job with Revenue Canada. Revenue Canada's hiring. I hated math, y'all. But I said, man, somebody got to do it. I could be the tax man. But I did less convincing on that job than I did on police. And when they called me, I went in there with the most confidence. Boy, I went in there, yeah. Until when somebody looked at me and they said, what'd you say your last name was? I was like, oh, suck it down. And then something in me said, but you're not them. So I said my name. And the guy looked at me and he said, wouldn't happen to be the ones that are suing the Windsor police right now, would it? And I said, yep, that's my cousin. And he looked at me like, you're going to confess that that's your cousin? I said, can't choose your family. And he just cracked up laughing. But you know what? I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And people along the way would be like, who do you know? I don't know anybody. You mean you don't have anybody on the job? Nope. Every weight that was trying to be put on me, I kept throwing it off. And I kept throwing it off. And I kept throwing it off until I graduated and got hired. And I got my badge. Boy, I was so proud. My grandmother said, well, am I going to get a picture of you in uniform or you got to wait to put it in my grave? I was like, Grandma, get your picture. But you know what? Everybody was telling me what I couldn't do. What's your last name? Do you know what your dad went to prison? Do you know they're going to find all that out about you? I said, I didn't go to prison. Exactly. The B&E brothers in high school sat in front of me. I didn't commit any B&Es. But I constantly had to talk myself back into who I was. And why am I telling you all that tonight? I'm telling you this because you have to constantly talk yourself back into why you qualify for having what you have. Because if you don't, you will let yourself go back to the lies, back to the excuses, back to the reasons why. And if you can't believe and pull the reasons out for yourself, you got to write them down and make them plain. Listen, you need to write down, good is not good enough. Good is not good enough. Good is the enemy to great. Good is not good enough. Why settle for fine, I'm good, instead of being like, I'm great. Do you get mad at the people that you say, hey, how you doing? Then they go, I'm great. And you go, You know you ain't great. You know what? I'm great when you even know my circumstances aren't great, because my circumstances don't dictate to me how I feel. My circumstances don't dictate to me what my destiny is going to be. My circumstances are only temporary, but what's on the inside of me is eternal. And that's what you got to get on the inside of you. And that's why you'll be able to smile when circumstances might not be perfect. But the Bible says if you're waiting for a perfect season, you'll never do anything. If you're waiting for everything to be perfect, I'm waiting to get the money in the bank. I'm waiting so that I'm going to do it in the spring. I'm waiting, I got to wait till after I'm married and my kids are going to college. No. If you keep putting off what you want, waiting for perfect circumstances, they're never going to come. Listen, you have a purpose. You have a purpose, and you are here on this planet. Not just here in this room today, but you are here on this planet on purpose. You are here on purpose with a purpose. I say that to my ladies all the time. Listen, I heard this scientific research and it blew my mind. Listen. The scientists have attempted to factor in all the variables and figure out the odds of how you made it. So they took all the factors, the year you were born, the parents you're born to, the region you're born in, the economy that you were born in. They took all that, your family history, disease, all that, all that the doctor takes, all that. They tried to factor in all the variables of why you made it. Have you ever asked yourself, why did I make it? Because my mother had so many eggs in her ovaries. My daddy had so many swimmers. You know you watch that movie, Look Who's Talking. I think that's so funny. Hey, I'm getting on the way, I'm getting there, I'm meeting you, la la la. All of that. Because if some little swimmer beat your swimmer, you wouldn't be here. Think about it. But you made it. You made it. You want to know what the odds of you being here are and why you're so special? If you don't think you're special, I want you to know tonight why you're so special. They factored in all the variables, and this is the ratio that they came up with. You being here is 1 in 400 billion. Wow. One in four, baby, you're not 1 in a million, you're 1 in 400 billion. You can't tell me you're not living on purpose. You're not here on purpose with the purpose. If you made it through all of those odds to be here, then there is a destiny attached to you, and you have to understand the value that you carry. And everything that you desire and is put in front of you that you want to accomplish, that passion that's burning on the inside of you, the things and the dreams that you want to go for, listen, it's with a purpose. There's a greater purpose attached to it than just you finishing your call. That's why a car doesn't just fulfill it. That's why a house doesn't fulfill it. That's why you see movie stars and millionaires that are still empty and looking, because they have not fulfilled their destiny yet, their God-given divine purpose yet, the thing that God hardwired them to accomplish in this earth. He loved this earth so much and everybody in it that He called you to be in it. 1 in 400 billion. Don't tell me you don't have. Pastor Kim, I'm not special. Yes, you are. If you need to write it down, I'm 1 in 400 billion, baby. Man, I found that out today. Ooh, I'm going to rub it in my husband's face so bad. Do you know how blessed you are to have found me? Because I am one. If you're feeling down and feel like you don't, look in the rearview mirror and say, you girl, are 1 in 400 billion. You made it. You might say it with tears in your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? You have to remind yourself how special you are. And listen, I could have saved those scientists a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
I could have made it so easy for them if they would have just asked me what the Bible says.
Beautiful. Whatever made.
Because God said, the Lord brings death and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and he rises up. And Psalm 36:9 says, you are the giver of life. He told Jeremiah this in Jeremiah 1:5. He said, before I formed you in the belly, I knew you. He said, I knew you. He said, before you were even formed, before the egg was ever released, before the swimmer ever started swimming, God had already formed you. That's why the odds, they're trying to figure out the odds. No, God already had a plan and a purpose for you to be birthed into this earth. That's why you're not satisfied with good, because God created you to be great. That's why you're not satisfied with good enough and life is okay, mediocre. No, that's why you can't settle where you're at, because you know that there's still more. There's still more. There's still more. Ladies, if there's anything I can tell you tonight, don't settle. Don't settle. Take the truth. Nobody's tripping me. I'm tripping myself. So now when you look at yourself and say, girl, quit tripping, you'll realize that what you're saying has a whole new meaning. And sometimes you need to just do that. Girl, get you a mirror. Might have to start out with wall size. We can fit it all in. Quit tripping. You're tripping yourself. You talk like that? I'm tripping myself. You thinking like that? You're tripping yourself. You acting like that? You're tripping yourself. They're not tripping you. You're tripping you. They're not holding you back. You're holding you back. Quit making excuses. Just say, ouch, hallelujah. Ouch. I want to share this one more thing before I close tonight. This is something the scientists did say that I thought was pretty interesting.
Sorry.
They said, if you don't respond to a thought that will bring about discomfort, within 5 seconds you begin to talk yourself out of doing it. That's why you can have the thought, I want to lose weight, but the moment you say, I need to get up and go to the gym, if you don't get up right then and go to the gym, you will sit there within 5 seconds and reason your way out of not going.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Because that right there is the pinnacle of where change takes place. That is the crucial, that is the pivotal moment where life begins to shift from what you want and having what you want. Because now your brain wants to protect your comfort zone, and the other part of your brain wants you to obtain what you believe you can have, but the one will talk the other out of doing what you're called to do. You've got 5 seconds, baby, to make up your mind. How many really can think what I'm telling you is true? You know you do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Alarm clock goes up. Oh, I'm supposed to start going to the gym today.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I hear it raining outside. Oh, wait, let me move my knee. Because, you know, I injured my knee some time ago. Oh, yeah, I should.
It's sore today.
No, shouldn't put no pressure on that today. You believe yourself into aching when there was no ache.
That's right.
Within 5 seconds. Within 5 seconds. So every time you start thinking of, you know what, I need to make a list. I need to make my points, how I'm going to accomplish this. I need to sit down and write out my plan. If you don't start doing it within 5 seconds, you'll start writing out your grocery list.
Mm-hmm.
That's why these things can be so dangerous sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you do is you'll have a thought to do something, and you'll go on there and you'll open up your phone, and a notification from Facebook will come up.
We don't do the phones anymore. We don't do the phones anymore. I only bring them for pictures. I have on a laptop.
And about a half an hour later, you go, I was going to do something. But you just spent time scrolling and looking at things that are not going to produce anything in your life. How many have this sitting next to their bed?
Does the laptop count? Laptop.
Your laptop,
Yeah, I'm not
your
gonna lie.
iPad,
I'm not gonna
your phone, sitting next to your bed.
Mine's off. But yeah,
Listen.
mine's next to me, that's for sure.
Plug this in across the room. I'm telling you the first step to change. Plug this in across the room and put a pad and a pen next to your bed.
Mm.
Because then when you open your eyes, instead of reaching for this and getting distracted, you'll write down the thought. Some of you have amazing ideas locked up on the inside of you, but because they come and you don't snatch them within 5 seconds, they're gone. And that thought could have been the beginning of a whole new career.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you how easy it slips through your fingers. 5 seconds. Psalm 23:7 says, as a man thinketh.
So is he.
That's the danger right now. And you have to be real with your thinking. How do you think?
Mm.
If you know you're making the same excuse, and I'm going to say this one more time before I close, because you got to quit getting mad at everybody else while your life's not changing.
Mm-hmm.
Look, anybody that comes to you and say, Pastor Kim, you ain't taught me nothing. You ain't teaching me nothing. My life is still the same ever since I met you. No, baby, I've been teaching. You just ain't listening. No, I gave you truth. I didn't give you my opinion. You just refuse to be real with yourself. That's why I can go to sleep at night, because I know I gave you the truth. But now it's time to be real and say, you know what? Your change is not contingent upon me getting truth. It's contingent upon you receiving truth. You want to change? You want life to really change? Take the truth and apply it. The Word of God tells us to be teachable, because God knew how important it was for you to have truth in your life. The principles of truth do not change you. The application of truth does. You can think, and that 5-second rule will go by, and you can think it, but if you go right back to your original thinking and the comfort of where you are and the reasoning for why you are the way you are, yes, you'll manifest and become your thoughts. And I know we like to have fun, but you know what? I don't know about you, but I want you guys to have change. I want you guys not to feel like you're being sabotaged. I want you guys to not have to live behind a facade. I'm going to close by showing you this. We just moved into this church, and I mean, this is amazing. This building, there's a whole story behind it. I'll tell you someday, but it's amazing. But we found out, you know, we don't have a lot of storage room, but isn't this fellowship hall look really nice and everything? And this nice curtain looks so nice. But this is how most of us do. We put up this curtain to hide what's really going on.
Yeah.
So I put this curtain up today because I didn't like what it looked like behind here. And this is what we do in our life. This is how we trip ourselves
Preach it,
up.
Pastor Cam.
We'll erect something that we're satisfied with the way it looks, but we refuse to deal with what's behind the curtain. If I could show you all the stuff back here that's stored. This is the clutter of your life. These are the things in life you don't want to deal with. These are the things in life that you've settled for, and what you did is you just covered it with something that you could handle. I'm just going to cover it. But the truth is, this isn't going to stay here. Because I need this stage. You need this stage. You need this space. So you know what? It's going to take some work. It's going to take some planning. It's going to take some investment. Because I'm going to have to build a storage space for this to go. There is a place for this stuff that is appropriate and that is proper. But I can't settle by covering it with a curtain in life. There's a place for everything that you've been through in life. Everything that you're trying to hide and put away and not deal with, it's time to start saying, I can't deal with it all at once, but I'm going to start dealing with one thing at a time. Amen. And if you do that, life will start to be a lot clearer, and you'll be able to start running again. Instead of having no energy, instead of having no hope, instead of having no joy, instead of having no peace, you can have all of those things back, and you can live a fulfilled life on purpose. Amen?
Amen.
I'm going to have everybody stand.